Well, good morning. When I was looking at today's saint, I think I visited once her burial place, Saint Jane de Chantal, but I couldn't really remember much about her. And she's got quite a fascinating story here. As it says here, what a way to start a marriage. Jane no sooner arrived at her home when she discovered she might lose it. Her husband, Christophe, had only inherited the title of Baron, but instead of inheriting money, they just had tons of debt. And Jane had not come to the marriage empty-handed. She brought with her as well a deep faith that her father had promised, but also she loved having fun in the faith and talking to children about jokes and controversial topics. So she brought a good-hearted way, and many of her friends would say, even though her jokes were stupid, she was still funny. And so this is a dear saint who had great qualities at 20-some years old, a French woman, and started to take charge of her own estate and things because her husband was a bit distracted. With all these financial worries and things, she just kept insisting in our home, we need to be of one heart and one mind in Jesus. And many blessings of always like giving to the poor and all that. Anyway, her happiness was shattered when Christopher, her husband, was killed in a hunting accident. Before he died, her husband forgave the man who shot him, saying to that man, don't commit the sin of hating yourself when you've done nothing wrong. But the dear heartbroken wife, Jane, had to truly struggle with forgiveness of this man that killed her husband. At first, she tried to greet him on the street. When she was unable to do that, she had actually invited him into her home. Finally, she was able to forgive the man so completely that she even became the godmother to one of his kids. And so on and so forth. You can imagine her incredible life. And, one time she gave some beautiful advice saying, should you fall even 50 times a day, never on any account should you be surprised or worry. Instead, so gently set your heart back in the right direction and practice the opposite virtue and then trust in the Lord. Once we have humbled ourselves for our faults before God, we allow him to forgive us, and then we can move forward. She died in 1641 at the age of 69 years. And so it's interesting, I think all of us, we can carry, this is obviously a very dramatic story of a wife trying to forgive somebody who killed her husband. But you hear it as well in the story today, obviously with Jesus talking about the story of the debtor. And so it's good for us to ask ourselves, if maybe through the intercession of St. Jane, first of all, do we have that fun, faith-filled kind of dynamic way of talking about our faith? Even if we have stupid jokes, the attempt of merely making people laugh is a good thing. And St. Jane kind of reminds us of that simplicity that's so necessary to have that faith. And secondly, obviously, she calls us, or she challenges us to be able to look at maybe a person or circumstance in our life that could demand or command forgiveness from our heart through Jesus's heart to a particular person or circumstance. So let us today ask through the intercession of somebody like St. Jane for that grace to maybe spice up our life with a little bit of fun and laughter, and at the same time, maybe even deeper than that, to go deeper and find maybe a person or relationship that we need God's forgiveness to reign in those places of our heart.